We are joined by legal practitioner and public affairs analyst To Oserujava, or rather Oseruja, who is joining us from the United Kingdom. You're welcome, To. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Mazino, and good evening.
Good evening. So let's talk about the ACF. Now, how does the ACF plan to balance its call for a northern presidency in 2027 with the need for inclusive and equitable policies across all regions?
Mazino, that is worrisome because it contradicts the statement of the chairman, because if he's talking about inclusiveness and is also fighting or rooting for a northern president in 2027, is worrisome. You should know that constitutionally that the office of the president is not zoned, but politically and for the purpose of inclusiveness, political parties find a way of managing the unwritten zoning policy, which plays a major role in the just concluded election in 2023. Then if you look at it from the other perspective, the Arewa Consultative Forum should be abreast with the fact that by virtue of section 134 of the 1999 Constitution, whoever becomes the president of Nigeria requires at least two-thirds, a simple majority of two-thirds percent, that's a two-thirds numbers of states out of the 36 states, and not make up 19. So if you look at it, if you calculate it carefully, they need about 7 states to come to that to the conclusion of who can become the president from the north. And so the South also requires a specific number of support from the northern states to become the president of Nigeria. So, but what the Arewa Consultative Forum is doing right now is not too ideal because they are overheating the policy. I must give it to them that the North has the population, but we also make the Arewa Consultative Forum be aware that over the time, the politics has changed. So likewise, the strategy. So there may be a social-cultural group, which is one of the social-cultural and political group, but the question is, do they have the backing of the masses or the people of the North to make such an utterance?
Now, To, I don't know what suggestions the Arewa Consultative Forum have for President Tinubu regarding what could help the socio-economic instance there. But however, I'm very curious as to what specific economic policies of Tinubu, the Tinubu administration, they believe have negatively impacted the North.
Yeah, that is the problem, because when the problem cannot be identified, solutions become when the problem cannot be identified, the solution becomes difficult to discover. If you look at, if Arewa Consultative Forum can come out with their leaders saying this kind of thing without them pinpointing the policy that is adverse or affecting the North, you discover that we're all in one. We are in a big problem in the country. If you look at it carefully, all groups or anybody who talks about the current economic situation in Nigeria points to the president, but forgetting that we have other segments of government that need to be looked into. Nobody's looking into that. And the bottom line of it is that the only thing the president did was, let me implement a provision of the law, which has been passed by majority of Senate, by majority of the House of Reps, that was assented to by a northern president, which is Muhammadu Buhari. That is just all. Because if the first subsidy was to be in place, you discover that the economy will fall in place as expected or as predicted by the northern district. Apart from that, which other policy has Tinubu uttered or made? It's not a policy, it's just an implementation of the law that they are all talking about. And if you notice it, he cannot point, or the forum cannot point which of the policy. So they all know the truth, but they just want to play politics along the line. But the earlier we enlighten the people about the true situation of things, the better for us. If it's for we to amend the law, it's to amend. If it's for we to say, okay, let's embrace this law for the purpose of betterment of Nigeria, we should, and everything will be fine, because since the cancellation of subsidy, that is where the problem started.
It's 3 years before the 2027 elections. What suggestions do you have for the ACF? how do you think they could engage with stakeholders and the electorate to address the challenges of insecurity, economic hardship, and also environmental degradation?
Okay, 3 years. 3 years is just like in politics. 3 years is just like 3 days, because I told someone, I said immediately the budget of 2023 was passed. No, 2024 was passed. Election for 2027 has commenced. So my advice for them is to first of all look at one. You should know that if you look at their response or the itemization of issues, you should know that they are far from the masses. Then two, you should also know, I don't want to cast aspersion, but you should know that the Arewa Consultative Forum played little or no influence on who will emerge the president of Nigeria in 2023, because they could not endorse as interests override the aim and purpose of the group. So the other thing again is for them to look at, there are several areas they can take advantage of. Look at the new Supreme Court decisions as to the autonomy of local government. Let them see how they can influence the local government angles to see how they can develop the local level from the local level through the local government, that autonomy given to them. Then they move further, see how they can harmonize the governors, how the governors can come together, have a focus, because everything boils down to the center. No, but some of the governors play major role on what happens in the state and what they can do. Then the third one is education. Issue of insecurity can only be fought. You know, the Niger Delta has their own struggle. And if the Northerners are wise, or they can learn from what happened in the Niger Delta, they will allow such extent, such insecurity to get to this level. And they know they are in the grassroots. They will know the people who know the people, or know the relative of people who tend to become danger species to the society. They can tackle that within themselves by virtue of rolling out educational programs, campaigning, and making them see the need for peace rather than violence that is taking place in the north. Because if you look at it from our perspective, is that insecurity strive when it's accommodated from the locals. When the locals accommodate insecurity, it strive. But when they decide to push them out, the insecurity will die down. So it's a very untimely call. And I'll also advise them that they should also be inclusive to allow the South to enjoy, which I don't go by that. They should allow the South to finish the tenure of the 4 years before we look at what further discussions on it for the purpose of inclusiveness.
So, Mr. Oseruoja, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We appreciate your expert opinion.
You're welcome.